Greetings, everyone. It's Trey here. I'm here on this 10th day of June 2023, and I'm here with my new friend Flourchild, whom I met on Twitter, I don't know, a day or two ago. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even look at the thread. I can't remember what it is. I invite so many people to have discussions, and nobody will take me up on it. But Flourchild finally did. We're having, I think the threads had to do something about faith.
Yep.
And so I created this event, and he is kind enough to join me. So thank you, Flourchild, for joining me.
Sure.
All right, so I guess we can jump right in. You want to fill me in?
You offered a definition of faith that seems pretty contrary to what's in the Oxford Dictionary, and I guess I just kind of questioned you on that and wasn't able to get a straight answer out of you as to why you seem to be kind of using your own definition of the word to kind of serve your own argument there. I'm just curious as to why.
Okay, and so you know what? Let me look up the. It's not really fair to. Hold on just a second here. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so the original started with Ben Watkins has a statement. He says, "Apologist, I don't have enough faith too." And he says, "Me, whoa, hold up there. Before you go any further, is faith a virtue or vice?" And my first response was, everyone has faith, Ben. It's a necessary consequence of sentient contingent being. The question is, do you have good faith or bad faith? That's the real question, not whether we have faith. And so the idea is that there's nobody alive that does not exercise faith. Okay, and then so then you said, is there a reason you're using the definition word outside of its standardized usage? And the cited reference was number one, complete trust or confidence in someone or something to restore one's faith in politicians, or a strong belief in God's example, or definition two, strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on a spiritual apprehension rather than a proof. Example is bereaved people who have shown supreme faith. All right, and so do you think that it is possible for anybody to live a life without exercising faith?
Theoretically, someone likely could have a life where they didn't have complete trust or confidence. I think it would take some mental gymnastics to get there, but I think it's not impossible, just highly unlikely.
Okay, so can you give me an example of something that you know that you have absolute certainty of?
Yeah, the existence of something.
Okay, and what would that something be?
Not exactly sure, but I know existence is a thing. Something exists. The nature
no, wait
of
a
that
minute. You said you had certainty. Now you just told me you're not sure.
No, I said a certainty in existence. You asked me to clarify existence of what. I didn't tell you certainty in my knowledge of what the thing that exists is. I'm just certain that existence is a thing, that something exists. Of that, I'm completely certain.
How do you know that you're not deluded?
I could be deluded, but for me to be deluded...
Wait a minute. What did you just say?
Yeah. Whoa. I could be deluded, but in order for me to be deluded, I would have to exist. Therefore, I am certain that existence is a thing. Even if I am being deluded, I cannot be deluded unless I exist.
So the one thing that you do know is that you exist.
There's some...
Otherwise, who's asking the question?
Yeah, and I'm trying to answer it. I said there's some very high... As someone who has a degree in philosophy, I'm aware of a lot of very dizzying and confusing arguments as to... Even though I perceive myself as existing, it's not the me that exists. So I'm not going to, unless, barring getting into any of those arguments, the safest and most certain kind of stance I can take here is that existence is real. Something exists. The nature of that can be debated probably until the sun goes down, but 100% completely certain existence is a thing.
Okay. So you will grant that you, but you don't grant that you, the one who's asking the question, exists. In other words,
I'm
the perception that you have a reality is not necessarily real.
Yeah, I'm aware of arguments that can be made against it. I don't know them off the top of my head. I'm sure a dive into the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy or whatever will kind of illuminate that. I'm aware that those things exist. I don't have ready counter arguments against them in the event that you kind of bring it up. So it's not a stance that I'm willing to take hard and fast. I can say
Okay.
I'm fairly certain that I exist.
Fairly certain.
Yeah.
So you have faith that you exist.
Yeah. I
Okay.
just that's what I said.
That's my point.
Right. Was there ever a point where whether or not faith is something that everyone has was called into question? Because it didn't seem like it was related to the initial tweet either.
Let me look back at it here. Well, he was. I don't have enough faith to, and he says, hold up before you go any further. Is faith a virtue or a vice? Wouldn't you say
Yes.
faith is a virtue?
Whoa! I'll happily answer that, but I did notice we skipped over my initial question. When was the existence of faith or the universality of faith called into question before you brought it up?
Well, I don't understand what Ben was saying. He said, before you go any further, is faith a virtue or vice? Was he saying that the quote appears to say that faith is possible, that faith could be something bad?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, that's my point. So
yeah, but you asked.
But faith is necessarily a good thing because it leads to the sanctity of existence.
Wait,
and I'm not talking about religious faith. I'm talking about your faith.
Yeah.
You exercise faith in your senses. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was never in question. I don't think anyone doubted that people don't exercise faith, which is why I'm confused as to why this is being debated right now.
Okay, so you don't have a problem with everybody exercising faith, whether you're a religious person or not.
Yeah.
And faith can be a good thing.
Yeah, and it can be a bad thing.
And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying.
Wasn't that the point? Wait, so you agree with the original tweet?
Well, if Ben wants to clarify and say that faith is a virtue, then yeah. But the way it's put up there, he says before you go into it, is faith a virtue or a vice? And he's speaking to the concept of faith.
Right. So he's not debating whether or not everyone has faith. He's questioning the nature of it. Correct?
Well, I don't understand. I don't see the distinction.
You don't see the distinction between a question of does everyone have faith or is faith a good or bad thing? You think those questions are the same?
His statement seems to intimate that faith somehow is not something that's inherent to our existence toward the good.
So you're trying to drag in that our existence is inherent towards the good, and that faith is something inherent to existence.
No, that's what you believe.
Huh?
That's what you believe.
I believe that our existence is inherent towards the good.
Yeah, that's why you got up this morning and had breakfast.
Well, I don't think that
if you wouldn't exist, if you didn't think existence was not holy.
Say that again?
You would not exist right now if you didn't think existence was holy.
Let me see. How are you using the word holy now?
Special, just worth being. Existence is better than non-existence.
It's entirely possible that someone could be ambivalent about that and then simply choose not to act on it.
They might be ambivalent, but they're not opposed to it. They believe,
right.
In other words, they fall on the side that it's better than not, because otherwise it wouldn't be.
Well, no, they could fall on the side that both being and not being are of equal consequence, and since we're already being, there's no point in choosing it.
You don't have to eat your next meal.
Yeah, I could not.
So you are on the side that existence is special.
Well, no, again, I think you're making some liberties here. If I'm ambivalent about it either way, choosing to eat the meal or choosing to not eat the meal are both of equal consequence. So me deciding
no, they're not. One leads to existence and the other doesn't.
Yes, and if I'm ambivalent about either one, I could just kind of flip a coin or say, what do I feel like doing today?
You're not flipping a coin every morning and every noon and every evening.
Well, I'm seeing
When
theoretically
a truck comes rolling down the street towards you, you're not ambivalent whether you should step out of the way every time you get out of the way.
I
What do you mean,
think
well?
there's a decent amount of suicides out there that would say otherwise.
And we say that that's a problem.
Right. Well, I mean,
You make my point.
It's sad that those things happen. Sure, for people.
Why? Why would it be sad if existence doesn't matter? Why is it sad?
Right. Well, that's the matter of opinion at that point. But there's some people who are like, no, that's great. And then
but why is it that we are determined to sanctify existence when there's no value to existence?
Lots of people have lots of different arguments.
No. You believe that we are determined to exist. Do you agree with that? To survive.
I believe the majority of us are. Yeah.
Okay, so you believe there's teleology within the universe?
I wouldn't make quite that leap.
Why? Teleology just means toward a goal.
Right.
We are determined toward the goal of existence. Do you agree with that?
I think not necessarily in that it just will lead to like an infinite regress. I think that we can find purpose in certain things, but if there's an ultimate,
is that purpose objectively true? What you're saying when you say we can find purpose, you're saying we can find existence in certain actions. So you're assuming my assertion in your example.
I'm not. No, I think if we. So here's what I'm trying to say here is if I find a purpose for my existence, that doesn't necessarily mean it's aligned at all. If there is some kind of ultimate goal in the universe, those two things can be completely divergent.
Is that purpose objectively true, or is it a fantasy you impose upon reality?
It's possible, I would say, to know for sure without knowing a lot more about the nature of the universe.
I think it's obvious.
Well, that's
you're saying there's no purpose to the universe, but existence.
Oh, I'm not saying there's no purpose to the universe. I'm saying it'd be very, very difficult to tell with certainty what the purpose of the universe is, if there is one.
But you would say that the universe is teleological because that's how you live every day.
No, I would not. I would not take my personal day-to-day experience or perception and then use it and extrapolate it to saying this is how the entire universe must work.
No, I'm saying, are you a part of the universe?
Yeah.
Are you teleological?
I suppose. And
so the universe, at least in some part, is teleological.
Yeah, some part.
You're part of the universe.
Yeah, a part of the universe.
So the universe, you could say, is teleological. That not that every single part is sentient or something like that, but that the universe is defined by teleology.
I would say parts of them are. I would not say the whole is.
All right. Now, how does that instantiate unintentionally?
Oh, you have to clarify what you mean by that.
All right. Do you ever believe there's? All right. So you would say that the universe is teleological since you exist. Okay.
No, I would say some parts are. I'm not saying the universe.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying. Yeah, of course. I'm not saying the entire universe is sentient.
Cool.
But I'm saying it's characterized by telos. So was there ever a time when there was no telos in the universe?
Could have been.
Okay. Let's imagine that it was. All right. And what are the consequences of that? Let's imagine a Venn circle where you say that all the universe is unintentional, but then you say that intentionality arose at some point in time. What you would have to do is you'd have to say that unintentionality intended intention at some point in time and thereby violate the law of identity. You're familiar with the laws of thought?
I'm perfectly familiar with those, yeah.
Okay. So it's the law of, do you agree that saying that unintentionality can intend intention as a violation of law of identity?
Well, yeah, and this is why I'm still very hesitant to, unless we get down to the nitty gritty, say that I myself am teleological.
Well, you already conceded that.
I mean,
You're changing your mind?
Fast rule. No, I'm saying that I'm pretty sure I repeatedly am just saying it appears to be I'm pretty sure I also several times said arguments can be made that I am.
No, you said that you are. You said that you are.
All right. Well, I should amend that then because I misspoke.
All right. So you don't know that you had the goal of existence.
Trying to point towards all the times where I'm trying to tell you I'm very hesitant about committing to things
because you don't want to lose the argument.
What? Because they don't. Are we arguing in good faith?
I don't think this is going the way you thought it was, does it?
I don't think this is going the way you thought it was either.
Oh yeah, quite so. So anyway, so back to the faith thing. So
Well, you still haven't answered my question. When was the existence of faith called into question? Because that still hasn't been answered.
Can you? I'm still not understanding what you're asking exactly.
Yeah. So the initial question had to do with whether or not faith is a virtue or vice. That's what got this whole thing started, right?
Right.
And then you somehow brought up everyone has faith. It's just a matter of whether or not it's good faith or bad faith.
Right.
When was it called into question that everyone has that not everyone has faith?
Well, the way that Ben was putting it is as if there is such a thing as non-faith, but it doesn't exist among contingent creatures.
Non-faith? Faith as virtue, faith as vice, but not non-faith.
Right. And the way that it was worded made it sound as if there was such a thing as faith, whether faith is a virtue or a vice,
yes.
Which meaning that it's possible to not have faith.
No, I don't think so. Vice does not mean the absence of something. I think maybe that's where you're confused. Vice means something oriented away from virtue. Vice is the opposite of virtue. Virtue being like, if you want to go Aristotelian, in concert with the function of something.
No, that's not. He said, whoa, hold up there before you go any further. Is faith, quote faith, a virtue or a vice?
Yes. Not that does it not exist. Is it a virtue or is it a vice? Can it be
give me an example of like if it's possible for you to not have faith.
Why are we talking about me not having faith?
In other words, is it possible to? I mean, I don't understand what's so controversial about this.
That's what I'm asking.
Before you go any further, is faith a virtue or a vice?
Yeah.
The essence of faith. In other words, to believe that there's such a thing as faith, is it a virtue or is it a vice?
No,
it's not what kind of faith. He's not saying what kind of faith. He's saying faith itself. Is it a virtue or a vice?
Yes, nothing to do with believing if it exists or not. Is faith itself? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Right. And is it something people believe in, or is it something that actually exists? If it actually exists,
no. You're making a huge leap there. It's not a question you're taking, is it a good thing or a bad thing, and then somehow through some kind of gymnastics saying, does it exist, or is it just is it a thing, or is it just a belief? Those two things are not in line at all. The question is whether or not faith is inherently a virtue or a vice, not whether or not people have it or not.
And so apart from religion, how would you define faith as a vice? Speaking of the concept itself of faith, not types of faith, faith itself.
Yes, faith itself, the act as the dictionary says, which we still haven't gone to that either, where you gave a definition of faith that runs pretty contrary to what the dictionary says it is, and then somehow told me to look at the dictionary or look up the etymology of the word, and that would
it says strong confidence. Is that what you? Hold on, let's look it up here. No, a complete trust or confidence. What does confidence mean?
Just having trust in something. Yeah, to have trust in something.
What are the two words that make that
confidence? Confidere comes from the Latin confidere.
What is fidere?
Truth.
No, what? It's faith. With faith.
Right, and your point.
That's what the word means. Did you not even look it up when I told you to look it up?
I looked up the Latin word of confidere. Yeah. I don't know what fidere. I don't know how to break it down even further.
Fide is faith, brother.
Okay, and so what does that mean exactly? How does that help your argument?
It's not certainty. Faith is not certainty. Faith is faith, and that's what my point was, that you cannot not have faith. So faith is not a vice.
A word in English does not mean exactly the constituent words in Latin mean. That's not how language or the dictionary works.
You can laugh all you want, but that's what the etymological meaning
because that's not how it works. Otherwise,
okay. The root words have no meaning to what the actual word.
The root words show where the word comes from. The dictionary tells you how it's used now. Come on, how do you not know this?
There is an evolution of words that certainly
the word.
So it means that you don't have any faith. I feel like you're arguing against yourself.
No, when did it say I don't have any faith? What are you doing, man? Come on,
you were
this
saying
isn't going the way you thought.
I was saying certainty is not possible for contingent being.
Oh, and then I told you that it is. So you understand now that that's wrong, right?
How can you have certainty?
We just went over it. I can be certain of existence.
Okay, but
Yeah.
is your belief in existence cannot be an illusion?
Yes, exactly.
So your
So I
belief
am
in
certain
your
about existence.
so you don't exercise any faith in the idea that you exist.
I just told you I have complete certainty in existence, and then you're
And
saying I don't
but what
have
does
it.
that mean?
That I have no doubt that existence is real. AKA I am completely certain about it, which is something that you said is impossible. But you have yet to show me how it is impossible for me to be, or like how am I wrong about my certainty of existence?
But the certainty of existence is not your existence.
I didn't specify it was my existence. I said existence.
Okay, then you are presuming there's an I who is perceiving, right?
I'm presuming there's something that is perceiving. It could be me, 100%. But as I already told you, there's a lot of very dizzying philosophical arguments out there that I don't have the memory or the means to clearly articulate a counter argument to right now. So my stance, which is still correct, you have yet to refute it, is that I am certain existence is true.
Okay.
Yep.
And so I think that I will grant that point.
Yes. So then it is possible for contingent beings.
To what?
Yes, it is possible for contingent beings to have certainty, which runs counter to your
on the fact that there is existence.
Yes, so it is possible for contingent
but
beings
anything
to have
else, it's not possible.
I mean, we can.
In other words, everything that you do, every part of your day, every endeavor in which you, embark upon, you use faith.
And then I can use. I mean, I have pretty complete. I think that can be branched. I can have complete certainty about perspective or perception as well. I can have perspective. I can have certainty of the perception of certain things.
How so?
I am certain right now that I am doing what seems to me to be speaking into a phone to someone who seems to be another person. Whether or not those things are true is up for debate, but I am certain that the perception is there.
Then how do you know that you're not having it's an illusion?
Oh, it could be. My perception
You
could
just said that you don't even know that you exist.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't say I was the one doing. I mean, necessarily that I'm the one.
Well, that's what you just said. You just said I am certain that I am having a perception.
Yeah, yeah. As in I, as in.
But you don't. But you don't know that you're denying.
Right. The perception of me is there, but whether or not it's actually me, the perception of something that that is identified as myself is there. Whether or not it's actually me, who knows? Again, arguments, stuff like that. But the perception of it is undeniable.
Okay.
Even if I'm being tricked, the perception is undeniable because I'm being tricked.
I don't even understand why you're arguing this, because you're saying that faith is a necessary component to our living life as it is, and it's not a bad thing. So why are you arguing it so ardently?
Because you're the one who used a definition of faith counter to the dictionary when I called you out on it.
I said it's complete confidence with faith.
No, you said not complete confidence. And then I laid it out for you several times. You said not. You said
faith is not having complete. No, faith is confide means I have faith.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I have certainty. Certainty is not something that we can have. Now, I will grant you a certainty that there is existence, but anything else beyond that, it's not possible to not use faith.
I think we need to be clear here. The Latin word confide can be sort of, you can kind of reverse engineer to show that it's not complete certainty, but the English word faith means certainty, which is not how you and that's why you're offering an alternate version of it that isn't found in the dictionary.
All right, give me your answer. I've never heard that. Give me your example or your definition of faith. Where you get it?
The dictionary definition of faith found in the Oxford Dictionary. I screenshotted it for you and told it to you several times.
It says complete
trust or confidence in something.
So you don't believe there's any difference between certainty and faith? I'm trying to understand this. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, pretty much. There's like synonyms. Certainty and faith are this because faith can be used in more of a religious context. Faith can be used in a sort of trusting.
So faith means that you're not trusting in something that's not realized, because you already have certainty.
Faith means complete trust or confidence in someone or something.
And then, even looking at the second definition here, strong belief in God and the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. In other words, you don't know it, so you just accept it.
Well,
that's certainty.
We specified we were talking about the first.
My head is spinning here.
Yeah, pretty crazy when you don't use words the way they're meant to be used.
I know.
Yeah, because you're the one who said
faith is not certainty, my friend.
You're the one who said faith doesn't mean complete confidence, and the first definition.
That's right.
Which is what you specified you were talking about, and then you said
it's not confidence. Confidence used in a colloquial sense. If you want to use it if you want to put it in place of certainties, some people will do that. I don't think it's a very careful way of doing it. But yes, confidence is not certainty. Confidence just means that you have a high degree of belief or of certitude, but not complete certainty.
Yes, which runs contrary to the definition of faith in the Oxford Dictionary, which is
no, it doesn't. I'm looking at it right now.
It says complete. You just said confidence isn't complete, and the first word in the first definition is complete.
The Oxford Dictionary is not saying faith is certainty.
Yeah,
you agree with that?
You're switching out between certainty, confidence, and faith. Certainty
no, just certainty and faith. That's all I'm talking about. Certainty and faith.
Yeah, certainty and faith are synonyms, just like terror and fear.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
so for you, belief or faith is the same as certainty, and so religion doesn't have faith. In other words, what they say is actually true.
I think some religious people would argue that they have quite a lot of certainty that it's true, whether or not it's well-founded or not.
Well, yeah, I agree, and I think they're wrong.
Yeah, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about your usage of.
In fact,
faith
that's
to mean not complete confidence in something.
All right, Flourchild, are you familiar with presuppositionalism?
You just review it for me. I don't want to.
Oh, it's an apologetic methodology that's used to defend Christianity or the Christian faith. And most people I don't like it. And basically, what it says the same thing. It says that if you have faith in God, then that gives you certainty about God's existence. And it's like, no, faith itself is having a trust without having absolute certainty or realized necessarily the thing that is promised or whatever is. And I think in science we do the same thing. You believe in the consistency of your senses in doing the scientific method. You don't have certainty that your senses are correct.
Yeah.
And so that's all I'm saying. I'm saying that faith is not, it's not by definition, it can't be a vice. In other words, just be viewed purely as a vice, which is what Ben was intimating. I don't know if that's what he meant, but that's what it sounded like. And I just made the clarification, and I said everybody has faith. The question is not whether you have faith or not, whether you have good faith or bad faith.
But you didn't ask.
Would you agree with that?
He didn't ask whether people have faith or not. We're back to square one here. He asked whether or not faith can be a good thing or a bad thing.
And I meant to make a clarification. I said everyone has faith, then it's a necessary consequence of sentient contingent being. The question is, do you have good faith or bad faith?
Yeah, and like I said, he didn't call into question whether or not people have faith. He called into question whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing, which is you basically restated it.
And but having faith, I guess maybe we're just misunderstanding. I'm not seeing the point that you make, but obviously you're reading it a different way than what I'm reading it, and I'm not understanding what you're gleaning from it.
I mean, I am just bringing that up for the context, but really my main thing, as I said several times, was just your usage of the word faith. Probably why people are calling you out on it so much too is that it doesn't match with the English lexicon in the Oxford Dictionary. I mean, you can say you're using the constituent Latin roots of it, but that's the Latin words for it. And words in different languages, even if they have roots in each other, they don't mean it's not a necessarily summational thing.
Listen, Flourchild, you said that you have an educational philosophy, right?
I sure do.
Okay, so you know full well then that knowledge is basically true justified belief.
Sure.
Okay, it's faith.
Yes. Yeah.
It goes
So
against
if I-
the Oxford.
if
It goes
I
against
know
the
something-
Oxford Dictionary of what faith is.
Go to the. What about the Oxford Dictionary definition?
You said that I am somehow contradicting the Oxford Dictionary.
Yes. When you said that faith means not complete confidence or not complete certainty.
And you say that all knowledge, other than that there's existence, is true justified belief, right? It's faith.
True knowledge is people can claim knowledge. It doesn't mean it's true knowledge. To specifically know something and then be correct about it.
And it's faith.
I would say, yeah, under the first reading, that knowledge in its pure sense is essentially a kind of faith. I think faith is part of knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, right. And so so when the dictionary says faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something,
Yes.
it's not saying certainty. It's just saying you have strong level of belief that it is true. You have true justified belief.
It's not strong. It's complete. It's complete. What do you think is the operative difference between faith and certainty?
It's a colloquial term. Complete trust. What is trust? Looking to it, and that can even be a faith. You have a complete belief or confidence with, in fact, both of those terms, complete trust or confide in someone or something. It makes my point perfectly.
How does it make your point?
It's not complete a certainty, it's complete trust. When you believe something, you trust in it. It doesn't mean you realize it in perfection.
I don't understand the thing you're trying to go on here.
I'm just trying to read your own definition.
Yeah, and I agree. You're trying.
It doesn't say what you say, my friend. And it surprises me that you have an education of philosophy and you don't understand.
You can be. It surprises me. You're the one saying that people can't have complete certainty. I mean, can't be completely certain in things, and then had to back that off.
Well, in one instance, but everything else in your life, all human beings are faith beings. You cannot have epistemological certainty about anything other than, I would say you can have the high, for the purpose of inquiry, I'm willing to grant my own existence because otherwise there's no inquiry. Would you agree with that? If you're going to do science, you've got to presuppose that there's a course.
Fairly willing to make that. Like I said, there's arguments out there, and I wasn't sure if you were going to vault those, so I wasn't willing to take that position because it's not one that I can defend in light of those arguments. But yeah, right. I think in my personal life, I'm happy to make that.
And it is a faith argument. To say that I exist, but I will grant you that the idea of existence can be granted as a certitude, and accept that. Everything cannot be an illusion. How do you counter that?
Yes, I don't think everything cannot be illusion. I agree with you.
Because an illusion is something.
Yes, I agree. That's precisely why I agree with you.
Okay. So, but anything beyond that is marked by faith.
I think you could make that argument and be correct.
And that faith is not the same thing as certainty.
I think that's where I disagree. I think by definition, faith is, like I said,
faith is believing in something without having complete, without doubt.
Okay, I think I see. Okay, you're right. When you put it that way, I think I'm more inclined to agree.
Okay, and that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So,
great.
All right, listen, my friend, I've got some work I need to do, and I really appreciate your coming and talking to me. Literally, I'll give like 50 or more invitations to people, and nobody will take it. And so I commend you on that, and you taught me something.
Yeah. Well, I think respectfully too, the way you go about inviting people is not very welcoming. I
have a very dry sense of humor, and I really like having fun on the internet. And it's funny. I think it's funny because atheists are so strong with dry humor until they get challenged, and then they crumble into a puddle of tears if you criticize them. So I think that people need to grow humorous, and I don't think they not be so. It's so funny because they're the most rough people with their jokes until they're come to a position of challenge. They start crying. I'm like, good grief, come on.
And I think in fairness, that can be applied to members of pretty much any group.
Well, but here's the deal.
I've had pretty much that same experience with people of Christian faiths.
No, Christians are very sensitive, but that's understandable. But it's the atheists who like to, have their very dry and rough sense of humor. That's what's ironic about it, is that when they become under the microscope, suddenly they start crying. And I'm like, stop it. Play the man and stop being such a wimp. Now, Christians, understandable, because, most Christians are very... there are things that are offensive to Christianity and Christians. And so Christians just have that reputation. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But atheists, on the other hand, all the comedians and all the satirists and all that stuff, oftentimes they're atheists. And that's just the water they swim in. So when they start making fun, or somebody starts making fun and they start crying, I'm like, nah, can't do that, dude. You're being inconsistent. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for consistency. And
that's fair, but I think to the point I'm trying to make is that when you invite people to come on to take time out of the day on your schedule and then come on.
No, I always know what I do is, here's what I hate. I have found that I've been doing this, engaging on the existence of God for probably 13 years. And I learned a long time ago, when you're in text, that atheists are masters at pigeon chess. You'll spend hours and even days going back and forth, and then they'll just disappear, dump on the board, knock over the pieces, and fly away. And that's why very early on, I'll say, no, let's have a live conversation where this is recorded, you are accountable, and they almost all run away. And I say, that's what separates the men from the boys, as it were. Not because people who are really serious about inquiry are not going to be afraid to come and put their name on the board. And actually, you made up a fake name, by the way. I always use my real.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put my real name on some random dude's YouTube channel.
Well, I will, and that's the difference between me and you.
Who's going to be watching or what they're going to do or what?
And I'm not afraid. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Just like I said, I think you taught me something here today about the certainty of existence. Because up to now, I would say, I always would say that I exist. That's the one thing, by Descartes' cogito. I exist, not out of certainty, but just out of, there's no inquiry without the law of non-contradiction and without sense perception or understanding that I, the person, exists. Those are my presuppositions that I start out with, because there's no inquiry without those. But to say, just to make the generic statement that existence is as a certainty, I think that's helpful, and you helped me, so I thank you for that.
Great. And there's, like I said, if you go into a deep dive in the Stanford Encyclopedia, there's some links to the intros of some very, very dizzying arguments that I came up at the tail end of my official education in philosophy that I just at that point didn't even bother to try.
Do you have a bachelor's degree?
I do.
Okay. And so from your perspective, what is the great question of philosophy? What question is it trying to answer? If you could just boil it down to something simple. Because I've talked to several people with bachelor's degree, and none of them know.
I think why. I think why is the core of I think philosophy when you really boil down to it.
What the purpose of knowing why, for what end, toward what end?
I think pure philosophy is satisfied with answering the question why as its own end.
Okay, no, the end is going to be the sanctity of existence.
I think we can agree to disagree there.
I'm sorry?
I think we can agree to disagree there. I think for myself speaking, I don't have the answer, so I have no way of knowing. But
why do you do science?
Because I want to know why.
Toward what?
I think the pursuit of knowing why itself is an enriching and fulfilling.
You are trying you're trying to save existence. Every one of us is about salvation. We do it in different ways.
I disagree, but that's
when you find a cure to cancer, what are you going to do?
Hope that it is accessible and economically.
You're going to rejoice because it's saving the phenomena of existence. Every scientific endeavor is all about saving the phenomena of existence.
I think that can be one thing that precedes.
Some of them are twisted in their idea of salvation, like Hitler or something like that. But everybody's trying to save the phenomena of existence. That's what everything's about. We're all about salvation.
I think at the end of the day, we can agree to disagree on that.
Okay, that's fine.
But
Right.
that's,
But
that's a separate topic, I think.
Okay, you've been a very thoughtful and gracious interlocutor,
Yes.
Flourchild, and I appreciate the time, and I appreciate your indulging me with your wisdom.
Have a great day.
All right, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll talk again. All right, everyone, that is the end of that, and that was a helpful and enjoyable conversation. Until next time, I'll see you later.